What's up, y'all? It's the Life Partner Gang here. I'm your host, James.
Oops, I'm Tina.
You don't know your name?
I do. It's just my voice didn't.
Yes. James Meeks, Tina Meeks checking in for another episode of Season 2 of the Life Partner Gang. We got a great topic for y'all today, but before we get into it, wifey, what do they need to do?
Make sure that you are subscribed.
Goodness gracious,
I
big
don't
woman
know.
can't
Subscribe.
talk, man.
Make sure you are subscribed, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening wherever you get your podcast, so that you're notified whenever we drop a new episode.
Absolutely. Make sure y'all tap into that, man. We got a great season for y'all ahead of us. A lot going on in the Meeks world right now, and we want to fill y'all in, but we're going to keep coming with these great topics and definitely love you guys' feedback on it, just in terms of, like, are we talking about the right things? Are there things that you want us to hit on? We just recorded yesterday a topic that actually was sent to us by one of our followers, our fans. So,
okay. Keep the feedback coming. We listen.
Dope. Yeah, we definitely listening. So keep tapping in with us, but let's get right into it. So this one we gonna flip it. Usually I'm kind of like hosting, leading the conversation, but I want this one here to lead more of the conversation, because it's, again, we talking about women this month. You know, it's a celebration of y'all. So we're gonna keep coming with these women related topics.
Okay.
And this one in particular is about how can men support their wife or their woman, their partner's, like, career journey when it's really her time to shine. And I think we get this question a lot because people always ask you, how do you get me to participate in all that we have going on with our family?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have the answers though.
I know that's you're gonna.
Okay, so I'm gonna question. And you're
gonna question
answer.
me. Like,
okay.
Let's go back to the beginning, because your journey as an influencer. You know, for those of y'all who are new, Her Life Sparkles is my wife's Instagram handle, social handle, period.
It's my brand.
That's her brand. She's been doing this thing for what, 3 years now?
Yeah.
3 years seriously. She's been on the internet wasting time for probably the last 15 years.
Why are you bringing up old stuff?
But we'll go back to that, like, in terms of how it started and at what point did you realize that this could be an actual business? Because I had a point and you had a point, but they weren't always aligned.
No, it was him, James, telling me that if I was I shouldn't just be on social media to be on social. If I was gonna spend my day on the internet, then I should figure out a way to make money. Has been something he has been telling me for years. And if you follow me, or even if you don't, since the whole social media wave, or social networking, should I say, from Facebook to even Instagram, I've always been on social, and I've always been an oversharer or an influencer of sorts in terms of sharing my life or our life or what we have going on, from what I'm wearing to how I was styling my hair to, us moving and sharing our journey, like, not in the capacity that I share it now, but I've always been sharing my life online. So it was actually more of a natural fit. It was just something that I had to get really intentional about.
And you're an early adopter of social networks in general.
Yeah.
Like, when a new one comes out,
I get on it.
Jump on it.
Yeah.
Whereas I typically don't give a damn about that shit. So,
to be honest, it was something he saw for me long before I saw it for myself.
Even before influencer was a thing.
Yeah.
There was no name for it until a couple of years ago.
Yeah, no. Because I can remember as far back as like 2012, maybe in 2013, like back when we first got engaged and stuff. And I was always doing like hair stuff and hair. I was doing like pictorials back then, not full blown tutorials. And he was always encouraging. People were always asking, but at that time I was just like too scared to take the jump. And then I think in maybe 2015, you bought my first camera.
Yep.
Because I said I was going to get serious. And then guess what I didn't do? I did not get serious.
Right. But even before then, though, your journey to find this place that you're in now has been one. So even backing up before the influencer piece,
yeah,
there was like, so for those of y'all who don't know, like, we met in college at Georgia State University in Atlanta. But I'm older than Tina by a year. So I graduated in 2007.
Yeah.
And then you were supposed to graduate.
I was supposed to graduate in 2008. I'm a college dropout, but I'm not ashamed of it. I did not finish school. I was supposed to graduate commission to a second lieutenant in the United States Army, go work for military intelligence. Like the life or the plan, the course that I'm on is not the life that I had planned for myself at all. So I share that just to say that you are not defined by anything you've been through or thought you were supposed to finish in your past, because I don't have a degree, although I paid those student loans. And I make quite a bit more money than I would had I been working in my field. So, you know, everything that is meant for you to have, I believe that, you know, if you stay aligned, stay a good person, keep God first, then everything that is meant for you to have, you will absolutely have it.
Right. So then, but my point of bringing that up was, so because you know what I mean, you felt the way because you were, you know what I mean, you was right there in terms of graduating. You have a semester left, and then, you know, for different circumstances, you weren't able to get it done. But then what ends up happening is like that is eating you up, and a part of you for a long time felt like you need to finish that degree, and you should finish that up.
Especially because I was paying for it. It's like it's today, because student loans are the only like debt that I have left. It's like I am paying for this piece of paper that I don't have. Not to diminish it for a piece of paper, because I know degrees can mean so many things to so many people. But
right, so you were there, you were invested in it, you spent your time, your money, your energy, and to not get that payoff in the end, I know it was frustrating for you. So you're wanting to finish that. But there came a time too where you was like wanting to switch your major and go back though, and like this is the part where like as men you have to be patient.
I kind of forgot about that.
Continue. I didn't forget any of this. But you got to be patient, because there was a journey where you were trying to figure out what you wanted to do with your life and what your thing was, and it was like, okay, I want to go back to school. At one point in time, you talked about wanting to be an attorney because of like the stuff you experienced in terms of like the family attorney.
Yeah,
stuff.
Growing up, I always wanted to work in like the legal field. I spent a lot of time in child court or family court, custody battles with my parents. That is another chapter for another day. But yeah. So something in the lawyer judge realm was always like in the front of my mind. And then I got to school. I was initially pre-law and then I switched to psychology. I'm not even sure how that came about. I was majoring in psychology and minoring in Spanish. And don't ask me to say nothing either. And then I fell into the ROTC, the reserve stuff. And then even after not finishing, I wanted to go back because I wanted to be a physical therapist.
Yes, you went on the physical therapy route.
I broke both of my legs essentially, and the whole physical therapy journey and just the connection that I made with my physical therapist was like, I can really help people through this. Like this is something that I want to do, but time was not on my side, and I did not want to ultimately, I didn't want to start completely over in terms of school. So I ended up not doing it. And then I ended up falling into insurance.
Well, even before that, though, we talked about this. You weren't going to have to go back.
He tried to get me to go to nursing school.
No. I ain't talking about that. I tried to get you to go to nursing because I'm like, it's a good field, and you were just all over the place. So I'm like, if you're going to be all over the place in physical therapy, you're going to see some nasty stuff too.
I know, but I couldn't wrap my mind.
And I was like, why would you go to school to be a physical therapist? Because at the time they switched the requirements to where you had to have a doctorate.
Yeah, so, and that's ultimately what like discouraged me.
Right, but then there was also the
dental assistant thing.
Remember that? I forgot about that one. It was the dental assistant thing you wanted to do. There was also the real estate thing. I paid for this real estate course that she never took. Oh my gosh,
I probably still have access to it too.
Never took it. She was gonna go be a real estate agent years ago. So
that was right after Zoe was born.
Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff that you were like interested in. It was like, what's the flavor of the week in terms of what you wanted to do?
And I think it's even harder for me. That's that Sagittarius free spirit coming out of me. Like, because I'm one of them.
Yeah, I agree.
It's amazing that I like have a family and some structure in my life, because if I did not have him and these kids, I would probably be like Lynn off Girlfriends. Like, no kidding. Because I'm one of them people that I could be good at so many things. It is like, you want to be good at a lot of things, you want to be great at one. So I had to find, I guess, my great thing, and I'm feeling like I found it.
Yeah, you definitely found it. It took a while to get here. And I think what was on my side, so as the person who was going through this with you, um, because we were dating through some of it and we were married through a significant portion of it too. The biggest thing I learned through it all was to be patient and to not force what I want or what I think you should do onto you. Yeah. So while I started telling you 10 years ago that you should take social media serious, it wasn't like I was going to be like, yo, if you don't take it serious, I'm out of here kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or
it wasn't an ultimatum at all.
Anything that you pursued, it was like, all right, cool. Like, I'll support it. The real estate thing, all right, let me go pay for this class so you can go do the real estate thing. All right, you want to go back to Georgia State or whatever, finish your degree. Like, let's figure out what we need to do there. So let's contact who we need to contact. Let's see if we can leverage your credits. It became a point in time where they told us that you couldn't even use your credits anymore and you would have to start over again.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's really ghetto.
And then for me, when they told us that, like my true and honest feelings were like, it's a waste of fucking time. Yeah. Like, there's no point in going back and doing that. There are other ways to make money. And then as I'm navigating my career in the corporate world at the time, and I'm seeing that, like, there's so many people who don't have degrees. Yeah. I mean, most of the time they don't look like us, but their path is different and they make a ton of money. So I was like, nah, like, you don't have to go to school. Like, there are other ways for us to get it. If you want to go, I support it, but don't feel like you got to do that. But it was always this thing for you, like, well, like, I just, we got a son, and how I'm gonna tell him he need to go to college if I don't have a degree and stuff like that was eating at you.
Yeah, and I think just because growing up, they
programmed us.
They program you to think that you have to have a degree to be successful, and I'm debunking that myth, every single day. And now even for our kids, I want them to understand that, you don't have to go to school. I mean, we're not going to take care of you forever, but college is not for everybody. It's not the end all be all. It's no guarantee that, you're going to win at life just because you go to college and get a degree. I know quite a few people that have degrees and they aren't doing a damn thing with them, so
that's true.
I am very grateful that I was able to experience the life the way that I have. So I won't force that expectation on them.
Yeah.
Like, whether they choose to go to college or they want, help and start a business, or they want to come work for one of the family businesses, I want them to know that there are many routes that you can take to success, but college is not the only one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think that's what we're striving for as parents, is that once they hit 17, 18 years old, it's about choices.
Yeah.
It's, having a choice on what you want to do, how you want to do it, what you want to pursue, and pursuing your passion. Like, I want them to be in a place where it's like, throw money out the window. Like, what are you passionate about? What do you want to do? How do you want to provide value to the world? Mm-hmm. Then from there, we can figure out how do you turn that into
something,
profit, revenue, whatever it might be. So going back to you, it was like, all right, we're going through this journey of all of these different things. Like, like, Lord, please help her, like, find something that she loves, because my goodness, every week, what I'm saying?
It's hard, and it's probably really hard for him. He's very type A, very, like, locked in, has always known what he wanted. Like, there's, with the exception of your stint in the music industry,
I wanted that too.
There has never been, like, no deviation from his plan. He has been locked and loaded, like, on the tech industry since as far as I can remember. So I'm sure that was really hard for you to just watch me be all over the place, because I can be very all over the place.
Yeah, but it was the hardest part was, it was like you're all over the place, but the thing was, it was like, but I always knew the thing that you truly cared about, though, was the social media thing.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, you can go do real estate, you can make money doing that, but like, and this is why none of those things worked out for you, because you weren't really passionate about them. I think you were interested in them, but you weren't passionate about them.
Very true.
And that's why you're the type of person where, if you aren't, you can do things that you're interested in, but you're never going to, like, really be committed to it, and it's going to fizzle out if the passion isn't there. And that's why when you finally got into the whole social media influencer thing, it finally stuck. So then we go forward, but again, it didn't stick initially, though. So I bought the camera. What kind of camera was that?
It's a Sony A6000.
It was a Sony A6000 was the first one. And so my thoughts were, if you want to do it, I'll invest in you. But like everything else, though, I'm not going to go all in with my investment. I'm going to put something into it and see what you do.
And so I got the camera, and my initial thought, or my initial start outside, it wasn't Instagram, it wasn't my blog. It started before that. I had started a YouTube channel that I never published on. I had recorded 2 hair tutorials that have
Tell
never.
them why you wouldn't publish it. I remember why. Why? Because you didn't like the way your face looked in the videos.
Oh yeah, oh my God. I had just, because this was right after Zoe, and y'all, my face was just so fat, and I could not, I don't even know. I probably need to dig them videos out and edit them, because I'm pretty sure that I still have them. But I could not get over myself and my insecurity to post those videos. So I never did it.
Yeah. And that, like, we always joke about it, and there are no regrets, because everything happens in God's timing. So like, we always joke and say,
but I just think about where I am now.
If you'd have started way back then,
when I was playing, I could be.
Maybe you could have been huge,
yeah,
or maybe huge. Not though.
I mean, but I'm still huge within my own right. Everything happens when it's supposed to. So shoulda, coulda, wouldas. But I procrastinated on social media for a cool 5 years before I finally decided to take the plunge. And with things taking off for me the way they have, I can only imagine what they could be if, I had taken myself seriously 5 years ago.
Yes, because we had some moments too that would have been.
I mean, we planned I planned my own wedding. We built a house.
The engagement.
Yeah, it was yeah.
All of these things that could have been like big
that are like social media, like viral moments.
Yeah.
I just kept them to myself. Well, I shared like little bits and pieces, but like, yeah, it's missed opportunities for sure.
For sure. So, had the camera. Still was like lollygagging around, wasn't taking it serious. So then on my end, it's like, all right, well, I'm not gonna be into something more than you're into it, because then you're gonna feel like I'm forcing you to do it, and I don't never want to come across as forcing you to do anything.
And because I knew that I had kind of dangled the carrot on taking something seriously, when I finally built my blog and decided that I was gonna go for it, I didn't even tell him that I was building my blog. I just built it, and then walked up to him one day and showed it to him. And he was like, "What's this?" I was like, "This is my website." He was like, "You did this?" I said, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Right. And that's what I was looking for. This, all right, well, now she's doing it. You know what I mean? Because we could have been put a blog up or something like that, but it would have been a blog with no content going into it, because she wasn't really like all the way into it. So as you start to navigate it and you're starting to create the content, and then you post some of the content, like reminiscing now to show like people should start anywhere, because some of that shit in the beginning was really bad.
It was horrible.
But you got out of your own way and you stopped caring about like, all right, is my face going to look too fat in a video, or how is this going to look, or I don't know all of these things. And then what I did was like, all right, now I see you really starting to take it serious. So now I'm reaching out to people I know who have been successful in this space too. I ain't gonna name them names, but
you saw my face. I'm sorry.
But it was like, yo, my wife is she's doing this. She wants to get in this space. You've been successful over here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, are there tips or tricks or whatever? So I'm trying to connect you with resources that I have. Just
seriously, shout out to Destiny, because that's who he's talking about.
Right. So, reaching out, just saying who can you connect and build with. But then even then, though, I remember those like conversations back then was like a battle, because you like, well, I don't want to pay to be a part of this or to get this information. And it's funny that you said that then, because now you're charging people for information.
My bad. Whoa, how the tables have turned.
Right. So, you know what I mean? But it was like, for me, it's like, all right, I feel an unlock coming there. Like now I can start to get into it more. But I still was like,
it was still very much it was my passion project, and he didn't commit until he saw that I was fully committed. Because even when I started, like at the beginning of 2018, and I had every intention on being fully committed, we ended up getting pregnant with Luke, and that threw me like for a loop for that first trimester. So my consistency, or just my drive, had like lacked off a bit. So I started at January 2018, and then around like March it fizzled out. And that's the crazy thing. They say that most people who start blogs or their influencer journey, they normally fizzle out within the first 3 months. Hi, it was me. I did that. And then once I got over myself and started feeling better in my second trimester, I ended up going on a trip with some of my girlfriends. We did a girls trip to the Hamptons, and we just had such a good time. It was kind of just like a refresh, recharge, and we got a lot of amazing content. And I was like, you know what? If I don't use this as an opportunity to pick the ball back up, then I don't know when I am. So that's what I did. Like I shared our trip. I wrote a blog post about it. And from there, I took off and I never looked back.
Yeah. And that was really the turning point.
That was a defining moment for me.
And yeah, the defining moment to where it was like, all right, you really on it now. You're starting to take it super serious. You're about it. You're still working. You got a job. So it's not at the place where it is now, where it's like full time. That's what you do. You run your business.
But I decided
and all of that.
it was at that point that I decided I wasn't going to make any more excuses. There was no too tired, no too busy, no, I don't know this. I was Googling, YouTubing, blog reading, Pinterest searching, because I'll say the people who are out there teaching stuff, especially when it comes to influencing and social media, you can absolutely find the information for free. The question is, how many hours are you willing to dedicate to find the information?
Yeah, because it's not always
it's not in
face.
plain sight.
Yeah.
There is a lot. I put a lot of hours and lost a lot of sleep into figuring out how to break into this space. So that's ultimately why I ended up charging to share my information. Y'all not necessarily paying me for the information. Y'all paying me for the time and to tell you how I took that information and propelled myself forward.
Right.
But I decided at that point that I was going to make any more excuses. So I get a lot of people telling me that they're tired or they don't have time or they have a bunch of kids or they have a bunch of obligations. At that time, I was second and third trimester with Luke. James was traveling 5 days a week. I had Zoe and James, who at that time outside was open. They went to school. They had extracurricular activities, soccer, basketball, all of these things. I had a 9 to 5. It took me an hour to get to work and an hour to get home. I had to do all these things and then still make time to build my brand.
Yes. And then so another, I guess, funny point of that is like what you tell people now about, you got to make the time. You got to dedicate it. I don't want to hear that you're tired. You got to get out of your way of having the excuses. She was a queen of excuses. We've had many conversations about like, I'm tired, blah, 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 blah. And I'd be like, and like, what you think? And she'll always be like, because what I would always do is I would refer back to myself. I'm like, I don't really have no sympathy for anybody who says they tired. When knowing how hard I work and how much I'm doing, and I'm doing it on 4 or 5 hours of sleep. And she's like a person who can't function without 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah, I need my sleep.
So then you on this like, well, I can't do it, but you do, and blah, 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 blah. And now the same stuff I was saying to her is the same stuff she says now when she's talking to people.
Yes.
The exact same stuff.
It's true though. And it's not even a thing about having time. You make time for what you want. You dedicate time to the things that you want to spend your time on. So whether that's wake up an hour earlier, watch one less hour of TV, spend one less time scrolling on social media, because that is just it's a time suck. Even though it's my job, you can carve out time in your day to make time for the things that you want, whether that's influencing, working out, studying for, a new craft, real estate or something like that. You can absolutely make time for it. And it's easier said than done. But once it's a mental shift. Mm-hmm. And once that switch flips in your mind, the sky is the limit. But nobody can push you to that point.
Right.
You have to take yourself there.
And you have to, for me, I would say advice is like, you gotta know your spouse. You gotta know like what those points are that you can push and when to pull back. And I think being with you and being around you for so many years, I was able to figure that out. So it was like, I know if I'm too overbearing about this, she's only going to shut down. It's not going to help her. So.
And that's just my personality. If you tell me to do something, like in a firm, overbearing way, 10 times out of 10, I'm not going to do it.
That's why her children are like that.
I'm going to do the opposite. 10 times out of 10, I'm going to do the opposite.
That's why her children are like that.
Do what? No.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what my kids are.
And so I had to find that space of like, well, I'm going to give you the information. I'm going to push you. I'm not going to push you too hard. And hopefully over time, you figure it out. And it was just a bet, and I didn't know if you would or you wouldn't. I had confidence that you would eventually, and I knew that the social thing was the thing. So once you came back from the Hamptons, you started to take it serious. You started to create the content. It was like, all right, cool. But even still at that point, though, I wasn't a major part of the
No, it
content
wasn't. It was
creation.
mostly me and the kids. I was sharing about like motherhood and stuff, and I would share. I would put a full family up every once in a while. It wasn't until 2019
Yeah,
that you really just came full on like, because at that point it was no turning back for me. And once he saw how committed I was to everything that I had going on, it came easier, or it became easier for me to, and a lot of that time you were the shooter.
I was the shooter, and I guess the other part of it too was, though, while I supported you sharing your journey for motherhood and all of that,
He wasn't a social media.
I'm not a social media person like that. See, I see me, you post now, and you're like, oh, he looks like he's into this. I actually don't
He
really
actually
give a
hates
shit
pictures
about
on social media.
Yeah.
So it's funny to see now.
If it wasn't for her, like half of my adult life wouldn't be documented. Because
Documented for what?
you know what I mean? Like, I just live it. I wasn't ever really focused on taking the pictures of it. I even think back to my childhood, like there aren't that many pictures because
You hated them, and he's scowling in 95%.
yeah, I didn't care to take pictures. I just wanted to be a part of whatever was going on and not the capturing of the moment. So, but what we kind of had like a strategy session, and we were talking about, and this is how you knew like I was getting more into it, because now I'm thinking like, okay, well, I got my own things going on in terms of work, career, and all of that, and trying to build businesses, but what can I do to help her? And the one thing that we realized was like, you know what, it makes it more impactful if I'm in
They see the full family
the content.
unit.
We see the full family unit. People can kind of see what we're doing. And for me, being the private person and she's like the social butterfly, at first I'm like, all right, do I really want people to see everything that we got going on? Because even to this day, people still try to figure out what we got going on. They still think I'm a drug dealer.
They still think he's in the CIA.
They think I'm in the CIA. Like, y'all done gave me a bunch of jobs that whatever, you know what I mean? So we had to figure out, or we had to come to terms with, all right, if we really want this thing to continue to skyrocket and bloom, like I got to step from behind the camera and get in front of the camera with the family, and then let's see what happens there. Mm-hmm. And then we started to do that, and then you really just started to explode.
Yeah, opportunity. It was just well received. Just people love. Of course, people love me. Just Tina, the individual. They love the kids, but they love to see our family.
Right.
So, it was a no brainer.
Yeah, it was. It made total sense. And there's a lot of. I mean, I think we're entertaining. You think we're entertaining. There's a lot of entertaining things that happen with our family.
Yeah, it's fun, and you get individual pieces, when you see you or me or the kids, but it's really fucking funny when you see everybody together.
It is, and it's unique in the sense too that we didn't have the traditional like start.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we went through a ton of drama on our own. So
to see it come together.
And a lot of people didn't want us to get to the place we're in today. Like they wanted to see it kind of crumble and fail, and we would have just been another statistic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we fought through that. So to share that journey and to like help others come through it. But then also full circle with it too. You supported my career. Everybody kind of watched us moving around the country, but that was always because of something I had going on. But then now it's like we still move around the country, but it's, and we aren't moving because of you, but they've watched your career kind of skyrocket and take off.
So now people who have known us and have know that I have like supported his journey, his career advancements that have required so many moves. Like, they get to see what that support looks like when it's being returned. So it's not even, and it's definitely nothing that like he's forced into. When I get campaign opportunities that he has to be included in, I always ask him if it's something he's willing to do before I just say yes. I don't commit him to anything. Even the Paw Patrol costume. I asked him about the Paw Patrol costume before I said yes.
She asked, but when somebody leads you, when they ask you something, they ain't really asking. They're kind of telling you. So
I always ask, don't do that.
So, but now, especially since, I've been in my influencer bag now.
Oh, my God.
Them prices got to go up. You got to start paying me, or the brands got to start paying me. I ain't doing this shit for free no more.
I pay you and gum.
I'm a brand now. You know what I'm
Are
saying?
you?
Yes. So I need your people to recognize that
Okay.
when they come into the table. But no, we had to commit to that. She does, make sure that I'm cool with it, especially if it's something that they want like me to be in. Because sometimes they'll reach out to you. This is before I decided to start posting stuff on my own. They'll reach out to you like, I want your husband and your daughter to do this, or your husband and
his
your son
first
to do this.
paid opportunity for his page. They emailed me and was like, "Can you email this? Can you show this to your husband?" I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. So it was great to unlock these things and now be on the other side of it, supporting you and making sure you have what you need. And I mean, it's now I spend, I think, more time thinking about, well, what can we do to help accelerate your brand or continue to grow your brand? And like the book you did, like the book idea was born from the bigger idea, which y'all will see this year
Yeah.
too. You know what I'm saying? So it was like thinking about, all right, how do you scale this thing? Because going into it, the way Tina thinks, Tina is very much like this, and this that's in front of you. And I'm thinking about, how do we create something that's big, that has tentacles and branches? Hold on, we have a child awake.
So yeah, it was amazing to be able to see the support be returned, and that just our story and our journey go full circle. But I think the question that I get asked the most is how I got you to be supportive of my journey, and the simplest answer is that by showing you that I was committed to it.
Yeah, yeah. That you showing me that commitment meant that, okay, it's not something that I want for her more than she wants it for herself. And then once I saw that, then it's like, all right, cool. Well, let's do it, and I'm gonna go all in with you. And that's why I continue to push and come up with ideas and thinking about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And the bigger picture isn't just because you went into it was like, I want to be an influencer, but you know how I think. And I'm thinking like, all right, how do you become the boss of influencers? What can you do? Like, the brand is Her Life Sparkles, but what are the different tentacles that can come off of Her Life Sparkles? So it's like you're creating all of these different streams around it that ultimately will say, all right, I don't even have to be dependent on brand deals anymore, because you've created all these other things that are just working for you.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's great about our partnership. So, you did show me that commitment. And then on my side, it was like, I just have to do anything and everything now to make sure that you have what you need. So it was, you started with the Sony A6000. Like, all right, cool. She did her thing with that. So let me now that she's created content for a while, let's buy more lenses. Let's go buy a brand new upgraded camera, because we want to create better content. We want more higher quality content. So I'm out spending thousands of dollars on cameras and then thousands of dollars on lenses. And we had no formal training in photography.
Yeah, no, YouTube University.
Yeah, this is what we learned online and by research. And so making the investment in you, I feel like as you continue to show your commitment to it, I continue to say, well, what else can I do to help you further what you're trying to do and what you're trying to build?
And it's not even that. Well, I mean, of course it can be, buying equipment that I probably wouldn't have took the plunge to buy for myself, because I still choke when I look at lens prices. But strategy sessions, helping me come up with content ideas, or scouting photo locations or photo compositions, or just being committed to me being so serious about coordinating outfits and making sure that we have what we need for the family to have our looks put together. Or on days where that I'm swamped with editing, you might just like take the kids out of my hair. If I'm supposed to be helping with homework or something, just to kind of just to help carry that load. So as support isn't always monetary. It's so many little things. Especially if you have kids and your wife is pursuing this journey. I find that it's very, very difficult for me to just think or create or write, from a place where I'm burnt out.
Yep.
Or when the kids are running circles around me. So if you know that she has a dedicated time where she's setting aside time to write, or whether it's blog posts or captions, you need to use your brain power to be able to do that. Take the kids out front to play or into the playroom and keep them out of her hair for 30 minutes to an hour. Like while she's trying to work on something, it makes all the difference in the world. It really does.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. Just being able to take things off of your spouse's plate or your partner's plate to make sure they can, they have the energy and the space to create.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like it's a creative job, and if you aren't in the right mindset, if the environment isn't right, then you're not going to be able to create quality content, and that just means everything is going to suffer. So you're right. It's not just what you can do from a monetary standpoint. That part is important, but what can you do that, whether it's shipping it around the house or strategy or whatever, what are you good at?
Yeah.
And for me, it wasn't even always like, what am I good at? It's like, what am I good at? Or what are people in my network good at?
Yeah.
And how can I connect those things so that you can still have what you need? And for the men, it was also like, all right, like when I'm with my kids, I'm daddy, I'm super playful, I'm fun, whatever. So like I can still do that, and there can be a camera in front of us too. So like, don't think that you got to be all buttoned up and super cool all the time, and you don't want to show that side of you. Like,
real and relatable is key.
Be unique and be who you are. And that's the thing, is like we stayed real to who we are, and we didn't compromise. We don't fake anything. Like we don't do anything that doesn't align with our values of who we are.
Yeah, or anything that we wouldn't be doing if the cameras were off, honestly.
Right. So it's not forced, which is why I'm able to support it in the way that I am too, because I don't want to fake anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're doing it, and I think the best part is that we're doing it all together.
Yeah, we get to do it together.
Because it's the kids get to participate in it. They get to have, great stuff come out of it too. They're basically working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
they get to work and have fun. We
Yeah.
just did a really dope campaign that was basically around them, and we got to go on like a trip, and yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. So that would be I agree with your advice. The biggest thing is just like get behind and support in any way that you can, and I think your partner would love you for it.
Yeah, and whether it's whether men, whether it's you, or women, whether it's you that's trying to pursue a side hustle or career as a creator, influencer, whatever you want to call it. From the outside looking in, so many people think that it's just Instagram.
Right.
Or it's just TikTok, or it's just YouTube, because they don't use it in that way. But to people who are pursuing and serious about this industry, is so much more than that. Like, probably the worst thing you can say to somebody who is passionate about it is that it's just Instagram, or it's just social media, because it's not. It's work. It's my job. It's where I clock in.
Yeah.
So don't diminish it in that way.
No, you can't, because especially once you see somebody who's serious about it and you understand what goes into it, it's like you got to capture the right photo. So the moment has to be right. The caption has to be right. Like there's a lot of time and energy spent into writing captions. And I know that having to do it now, I'll be like, man, like before I post a picture and put one word there, now you got to actually think about it and figure out how to engage with your audience. Like that's a job.
So much goes on the level in which I do it. A lot of work goes into just a single Instagram feed post, from back planning to, if we're using a photographer or self-shooting, to outfit, to time of day, to the area, a location in the house, to editing, to the caption, the time of day I'm going to post it, if I have to tie it to any other content. It's so much that is tied to that single post. It could never be considered just the Instagram post. So just be careful with your words when you are talking to your partner about it, or even if you've been frustrated with them about it. Try to see it as something more than just social media, because if they've said it's important to them, if their actions are showing that it's important to them, then believe them when they say it.
Yeah. And I would say for the people in the supporting role, especially if your person is pursuing being an influencer, the single biggest thing that I did, besides coming out and getting in front of the camera with you all, was supporting the photographer piece.
Yeah,
like in terms of like investing.
He was my Instagram husband.
Yeah, but it was like learning. We realized at a certain point that when it was time for me to get from behind the camera and in front of it, actually being open to us investing a significant part of our budget into a photographer that would shoot for us weekly.
Yeah.
So if you think about how much we grew in LA when we started working with Leia.
Shout out to you, Leia.
Yo, shout out to Leia. Like Leia was like a godsend for us. And it wasn't,
I miss her.
you know, we didn't in Texas, we didn't we shot every
everything.
now and then, like on special occasions. We shot everything though. So going to LA, that unlocked so much for us because now it's like we just get to focus on like the environment, the setup, the look, everything else.
It took a huge load off of our plate.
Yes. So I would say once you get to a place where you're serious about it, and this isn't for everybody, it made sense for us given like we have,
if you have the
us
means,
two, but then we got 3 kids, and unless y'all got a bunch of kids, you don't know how hard it is to capture kids.
And to be the photographer and the coordinator and the mom, all in that moment, it's a lot because by the time we get done with self shooting, I am that mom that I'm like, if you don't stand right here for this picture, I'm gonna throw all your toys in the trash. It gets to that point.
She's that mom.
So it helps eliminate some of that frustration because you're trying to keep 5 people focused on the camera. They're doing everything but what you want them to do. So. And Leia, she was just she's so great with the kids. So if you can afford to have a photographer, if you know self-shooting or investing in camera equipment right now isn't in your budget, but maybe getting a photographer a couple of times a month it is absolutely worth the investment.
Yeah, it's game changing in terms of being a creator, and you don't have to go and get somebody that's super experienced. Like you can work with somebody who's trying to build their portfolio. Y'all can grow together. Yeah. Grow together. There's a lot of people who are trying to get into photography, have equipment, but they don't have like somebody to shoot.
Yeah.
So do that. But I think for us, that was the biggest unlock and help.
Level, yeah.
You know what I mean? That took us to the next level. So I think in rapping it's just about understand your person, what they want, be patient with them. Yeah. Push them, but don't push them over the edge. Like you just got to give like those gentle nudges and encourage. And understand that when people are trying to figure out what they want to do with their life, like that's an overwhelming thing.
Yeah.
And we don't all figure it out. Like that's why college is kind of broken in a lot of ways because we're forced to pick what we want to do at 17, 18 years old, and you don't know who you are yet.
Barely even, yeah.
So be patient if they haven't figured it out. If this influencer journey is a journey they want to go on, it's not easy. Yes, there are plenty of people who blow up overnight, but 99% of people don't.
And that's entrepreneurship in general. Like even if I feel like these same rules apply, even if you want to be an entrepreneur in another space, like Rome was not built in a day.
Right.
You got to be patient with them.
You got to be patient. You can't give up every time there's some sort of adversity or bump in the road. That's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So figure out, like what your goals are, short term, long term, and just work towards them. Yep. And eventually, a guy told me this a long time ago in the gym, and it sits with me to this day. This was back when I was still trying to figure out how I was going to break into tech the way that I wanted to. And we were sitting in a sauna in Atlanta, me and some other guys, and yeah, it sounds real, but it wasn't that. Pause. But it was a successful white dude, and he was listening to all of us talk about our goals and our dreams, and he was like, yo, man, I'm gonna tell y'all what somebody told me a long time ago. If you want it bad enough, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And that it's really that simple. Whatever you want, if you want it bad enough, you'll figure it out. When she decided that she wanted to be an influencer bad enough, she figured it out.
I did.
And that's
it.
That's life. You know what I mean? So lock in on whatever it is that you want to do, and then as a unit, talk about that. Come up with your goals together. We have goals that we're shooting towards together as a family unit, and we just lock in and go and tackle them. And we want it that much that every time we have a goal or something we're trying to attain, we end up getting it.
And so if it's something that you're saying you want and you have it written down, and you just find yourself stumbling and fumbling when it comes to working toward it, then that just ultimately means it's not a priority for you. Right. If it's something that you want, you will absolutely prioritize. You will create time for it, regardless of the other things that you have to cut out of the way. Not saying that you have to like not spend time with your family and things like that. But one of my tricks especially last year was that I would get up at 5 even though the kids wouldn't get up until like 7 or 8, because it just gave me that time to be able to work uninterrupted and actually focus in on things that I needed to be done, because that's how important, staying consistent was for me. So
Right.
if it's something that you want to do and it's a priority, you will find a way to make time for it. That's the long and short of it.
Absolutely.
I don't care how many kids you have, because at this point I feel like we have 1,000. So
And it's people doing it who have
way
more,
6,
8, not 7 kids.
A gang
So
of kids.
it can be done. You just have to, you got to put the effort in, and you got to want it. And nobody can want it more than you want it for yourself.
Yeah. I know like some people who might be watching or listening to this or just might be new and listening to us for the first time. So they know that like right now the kids go to my mom, or like your parents are here, but that was not always our story. Like I strongly say, when I first started and I first had to figure this out, I lost a lot of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Our whole, our support, your parents had just moved to Japan at the time. So we were just in Texas. You were only home on the weekends. I still had a 9 to 5 and all of those things. I wrote the book on not having time for Instagram, but still making time for Instagram.
Yep.
So if it's important to you, you will find a way.
Absolutely. So I think that's a good wrapping point. I think we hit all the points, you know what I mean? So, but we want to hear y'all's thoughts. Because again, we get this question so much, so would love to hear if you have additional questions, or we want to hear about your journey and how you supported
when in doubt,
your partner.
throw that ass in a circle, but
yes,
that's motivation.
When in doubt, definitely throw that and you good. But tap into the comments, let us know what you think about the topic. Let us know what you've done or what you feel like you need help or support in doing, either from your spouse, or you need to know what you should be doing to better help them. I think this is a great conversation to have, and I think when we think about relationships and people being together, like, you're stronger together. So,
yeah, because when he wins, I win. When I win, he wins. So
it's a team at the end of the day. So remove all of that other stuff from it and just figure out how to help each other. And then once you do that, everybody is golden.
Yeah,
so
everything falls into place.
As always, we appreciate y'all. Love the support. Follow us on social, Life Partner Gang. I'm your host, James.
I'm Tina.
And we are out of this thing, gang.
Bye.
Peace.